My friends, let me tell you something important about life and the seasons we move through. Winter isn't just a time on the calendar. Winter is a test. Winter is an invitation. Winter is the season when you don't wait for life to get better. You prepare yourself so that when the sun comes back out, you're ready for the opportunities others will miss. Most people look at winter and say, well, this is the season to rest. But the wise person says this is the season to reset, because preparation beats luck and discipline beats wishful thinking every single time. Now, as we stand here on the edge of a new year, I want to challenge you to think differently. Don't drift toward 2026. Don't stumble into it. Don't let it happen to you by default. Instead, design it, build it, prepare for it, and you prepare for a better year by preparing for a better you. It has always been the same principle. If you want things to change, you must change. If you want your life to improve, you must improve. Circumstances don't create your future. Your decisions do. And that's why we're talking about the winter arc, a 90-day commitment to self-leadership, discipline, and personal transformation. Not because 90 days is magic, but because 90 days is powerful, long enough to shape identity, short enough to sustain focus. It's a window where you can put yourself back in command of your days instead of being pulled around by your moods, your habits, and other people's expectations. For 90 days, I want you to become the architect of your life, not the passenger. I want you to adopt the mindset that winter is the season of sharpening the blade, strengthening the roots, and raising the standards. It is the quiet season where the work is invisible, but the results later are undeniable. You see, when spring comes, everyone will see the flowers, but only you will know what happened underground in the cold, when no applause was given and no spotlight was shining. That's where success is born, in private discipline, not public celebration. So welcome to this winter arc. Over the next 90 days, you are not simply going to improve your habits, you're going to improve yourself. You're not going to chase success, you're going to attract it by becoming the kind of person success is drawn toward. And I promise you, if you give this winter everything you can, if you work harder on yourself than ever before, you'll walk into 2026 not hoping for a better year, but stepping into it already prepared. My friends, before you begin any great journey of growth, you must first understand the philosophy behind it. Because without the right philosophy, even the strongest effort will soon fade. Philosophy is like the compass of your life. If it's pointed in the wrong direction, no amount of speed will take you where you want to go. But if it's pointed true north, even slow steps will take you somewhere remarkable. So let's begin with this simple Jim Rohn principle. Your personal philosophy is the greatest predictor of your personal future. Not your circumstances, not your past, not your environment. It's what you believe about discipline, work, learning, value, effort, and responsibility. If those beliefs rise, your life rises. If those beliefs weaken, your results weaken right alongside them. Everything begins at the level of thinking. And that's why this winter arc must begin with a shift in philosophy. You must stop seeing discipline as a burden and start seeing it as a bridge, the bridge between who you are and who you're capable of becoming. You must stop seeing challenges as punishment and start seeing them as preparation. You must stop waiting for opportunities and start preparing for opportunities. Because opportunity does not visit the unprepared. It knocks on the door of the disciplined. Now let me give you one of the great secrets of success. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Because if you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. But if you work hard on yourself, you'll make a fortune. Your job may provide you a paycheck, but improving yourself provides you a future. Your job may pay you for the hour, but your character determines the value you bring to that hour. You want 2026 to look different? Then don't start with your goals. Start with your growth. And why winter? Why focus on this specific season? Because winter is nature's way of reminding us that progress is earned, not granted. In winter, the farmer doesn't plant, he prepares. He fixes the tools. He sharpens the plow. He studies the land. He gets ready for the season ahead. Nature teaches that winter is not for display. Winter is for development. And that's exactly what this arc is, for quiet development that makes loud results inevitable. Let me give you another key philosophy. Discipline is not something you wait to feel. It's something you decide to practice. Motivation comes and goes. Enthusiasm rises and falls. But discipline is the steady hand on the steering wheel. And once you let discipline govern your decisions, your emotions no longer drive your destiny. Discipline does not care how you feel today. Discipline cares about who you want to become tomorrow. And this is why we commit to 90 days. 90 days gives you enough time to rewrite your story, enough time to prove to yourself that you can build consistency, enough time to establish new standards and break old patterns. It's long enough to matter and short enough to stay focused. A year is too vague, a week is too small, but 90 days, now that's a season of transformation. So as you enter this winter arc, adopt this simple philosophy. If it is to be, it's up to me. That mindset takes you out of waiting mode and puts you into working mode. It takes you out of wishing and places you in taking responsibility. No more blaming the weather, the government, the boss, the circumstances, the childhood, the traffic, the market. The moment you accept full responsibility for your direction, that's the moment your future becomes yours again. And now that the philosophy is in place, we can move to the first great phase of transformation, awareness, and honesty. Because before you can build the new, you must fully understand the old. Now that the philosophy is clear, my friends, we begin the first great phase of this winter arc, the first 30 days, the season of awareness and honesty. Because before you can change your life, you must tell yourself the truth about your life. Before you plant the new seeds, you must understand the condition of the soil. If you skip this phase, every habit you try to build will crumble under the weight of confusion. You cannot manage what you don't understand, and you cannot improve what you refuse to measure. So for these first 30 days, your mission is simple. See things as they are, not worse than they are, not better than they are, just as they are. Because clarity is the beginning of transformation. Most people run from the truth about their habits, their time, their spending, their discipline, and their distractions. But leaders don't run from the truth, they run toward it. They say, show me where I really am so I can decide where I'm going next. Let's start with awareness of time. Take 1 week and write down how you spend every hour. You may be shocked. You may discover that 2 hours a day disappear into your phone. You may realize that you've been paying a high price for low-value activities. You may find out that the days feel long, but the work achieved is small. But don't fear that awareness. Welcome it. Because the moment you see the pattern, you can change the pattern. Next, awareness of inputs. What are you feeding your mind? What are you watching, listening to, scrolling through? Because your mind is like a garden. If you don't plant flowers, weeds will grow. If you're consuming junk, don't be surprised if your thoughts and habits reflect that junk. For the next 30 days, feed your mind only the best good books, valuable ideas, meaningful conversations, and disciplined content. You will feel the difference almost immediately. Then, awareness of finances. Every dollar you spend is a vote for the life you're building. Most people say they can't afford to invest in themselves, but they can afford snacks, subscriptions, gadgets, and impulse purchases. For 30 days, track every expense. Become the CFO of your own life. Because money management is not about income, it's about intention. When you control your money, you control your options. Now let's talk about awareness of habits. Write down your daily patterns, what time you wake up, how you start your morning, how often you procrastinate, how you respond to stress, how you communicate, how you treat your body, how you end your day. These habits built your current results, and new habits will build your future ones. But you cannot replace what you cannot see. The first 30 days are about making the invisible visible. And finally, awareness of honesty. Honesty with yourself. Not the pretty honesty you post online. The honest honesty. The kind that asks, where am I falling short? What promises am I breaking with myself? What am I pretending not to know? What have I been avoiding? Because the moment you answer those questions sincerely, you gain a type of power you haven't felt in a long time. The power of direction. And direction is priceless. Once you know where you truly stand, every step forward becomes intentional. Now, with awareness comes responsibility. These first 30 days are not for judgment, not for shame, not for regret. They are for observation and preparation. The goal is not to say, look how far I've fallen, but rather, look how far I can rise. The purpose of this season is to build a foundation of truth so strong that the next 60 days of discipline and growth have something solid to stand on. So for the first 30 days, measure, track, reflect, write, use a notebook, use a spreadsheet, use anything, as long as it forces you to see your real habits in real time. Because whatever you track improves, and whatever you ignore decays silently. Once this awareness is fully in place, something remarkable happens. You stop living on autopilot and begin living with intention. You stop hoping your life will change, and you start steering it. And that's when we enter phase 2, the season of skill, value, and competence. My friends, once the first 30 days have given you clarity, once you've taken an honest look at your time, your habits, your inputs, and your life, you are ready for the second great phase of the winter arc, the building of value. Because now that you understand where you stand, it's time to decide what you can become, and becoming is the essence of this season. Remember, you don't get paid by the hour, you get paid for the value you bring to the hour. So if you want your life to increase, you must increase. If you want your results to rise, your value must rise first. And value, my friends, is built through skill, not luck, not chance. Skill. Skills are the tools of success. And the marketplace rewards the person who sharpens their tools. So during days 31 to 60, your job is to build yourself into a person who is more capable, more competent, more prepared, and more valuable than ever before. These 30 days will define the level of opportunity you attract for the rest of the year. Now, here's the first principle of this phase. Choose one high-value skill. Not 10, not 5, 1. Why? Because scattered effort produces scattered results. But focused effort produces breakthroughs. Maybe your skill is communication, learning to speak with clarity, confidence, and persuasion. Maybe it's writing, organizing thoughts in a way that influences people when you're not even in the room. Maybe it's sales, the skill that makes businesses grow and ideas spread. Maybe it's leadership, marketing, design, programming, negotiation, financial literacy. It doesn't matter which one you choose, as long as you choose one that increases your value in the marketplace and your strength in life. Once you choose your skill, give it the respect it deserves. Set aside 1 hour every day, the value hour. Protect it like a treasure. No distractions, no noise, no excuses. This is the hour where you read, practice, take courses, write ideas, build projects, rehearse, review, refine. And let me tell you something, 1 hour of focused learning beats 5 hours of casual browsing. 1 hour of deliberate practice beats 10 hours of passive consumption. If you give your future 1 focused hour a day, it will reward you for decades. The next principle of this phase, model success. Don't just learn from your mistakes that's slow and expensive. Learn from someone else's success that's efficient and powerful. Find mentors. If you can't find a mentor in person, find one in a book. If you can't find one in a book, find one online. If you can't find one online, find one in history. Don't just follow successful people, study them. Study their habits. Study their thinking. Study their standards. Success leaves clues everywhere, and the person who studies those clues becomes capable of replicating the results. Now, let me give you a distinction that can change every part of your life. A person of value does not wait for opportunity, they prepare for opportunity. You prepare through skill, you prepare through learning, you prepare through competence. And when preparation meets opportunity, we call that success. But when opportunity meets an unprepared person, we call that regret. Don't let regret be your story. Let preparation be your story. In this phase, I want you to become a builder. Build your capacity, your competence, your confidence. Build your communication skills so your voice carries weight. Build your market value so your income reflects your contribution. Build your mindset so obstacles don't derail you. Build your habits so your discipline becomes automatic. A person who becomes more valuable becomes more powerful. And a person who becomes more powerful becomes harder to ignore. And as you build your value, something wonderful happens inside of you. You begin to trust yourself again. You begin to feel capable, useful, effective. And that's an important moment, because self-respect is earned through skill, not talk. When you know you can solve problems, communicate clearly, think effectively, and create results, you walk differently, you stand differently, you lead differently. Value changes posture. So for these 30 days, immerse yourself in the pursuit of competence. Don't dabble, don't browse, don't try, commit. Because these skills will not only reshape your opportunities, they will reshape your identity. And with this identity shift, you'll be ready for the most powerful phase of all, the phase of leadership, the phase where value turns into influence and discipline turns into direction. We now move to phase 3, self-leadership and future design. My friends, by the time you reach day 61 of this winter arc, something remarkable begins to happen. You've faced the truth about your habits. You've built new clarity. You've invested 30 days into becoming a person of value. Now we enter the final phase, the phase that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, the phase that turns discipline into destiny and effort into identity. This is the season of self-leadership and future design. Because here's the great truth. Before you can lead others, you must first learn to lead yourself. And leading yourself is not about perfection, it's about consistency. It's not about public applause. It's about private standards. Leadership begins the moment you decide you will no longer negotiate with your excuses, that you will be the kind of person who follows through, that you will do what must be done, whether anyone notices or not. And that decision, that moment, is where self-respect grows. So the first pillar of this phase is simple. Lead yourself each morning. The day should not begin until you have directed it on paper. Wake up with intention. Spend a few minutes in quiet reflection. Review your goals. Look at your responsibilities. Set your priorities. Remind yourself of who you are becoming. A leader doesn't stumble into the day. A leader designs it. If you win your morning, you often win your life. Next is the pillar of emotional leadership. You must learn to respond instead of react. Because, my friends, life is full of challenges. People will frustrate you. Circumstances will shift. Problems will arise. But leadership means keeping yourself steady while the world shakes. Weak minds react with anger, panic, fear, or impulse. Strong minds respond with clarity, principle, and calm direction. Leadership is not controlling other people, it's controlling yourself. And if you can control yourself, very little in life can control you. Then we arrive at the environment of leadership. Let me tell you something important. Your environment is either lifting you or limiting you. The books you read, the ideas you consume, the conversations you entertain, the people you allow into your life, all of these things shape your future. You cannot walk with the undisciplined and expect to become disciplined. You cannot surround yourself with small thinkers and expect to think big. You cannot spend your time with people who gossip, complain, or make excuses and expect to live a life of purpose. So during these 30 days, upgrade your environment. Choose friends who raise your standards. Choose content that feeds your mind. Choose influences that strengthen your character. Now, the next pillar of this phase is where your future comes into focus, future design. Most people write goals, but very few write a future. I want you to sit down and design your 2026 as if it were a blueprint for a building. Page by page, define how you want to live, how you want to earn, how you want to think, how you want to spend your time, what relationships you want to cultivate, what skills you want to sharpen, what habits you want to master. Don't write it as a wish list. Write it as a plan. Write it as if your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. And while you design your future, create what I call a personal code. A code is a small list of unbreakable standards, the values you live by, the principles you uphold, the behaviors you commit to. Most people live by convenience. Leaders live by a code. Your code might include honesty, discipline, gratitude, learning, courage, responsibility, generosity, and excellence. 7 to 10 principles, that's all you need. But you must honor them daily. because a code only has power when it is lived. At this point in the winter arc, something powerful happens internally. You stop seeing discipline as something you do and start seeing discipline as something you are. You stop seeing growth as a task and start seeing growth as your identity. You stop chasing a better future and start building one. And that is the beginning of self-leadership, the moment you realize that your life is not determined by chance, but by choice. So for days 61 through 90, lead yourself daily. Lead your time, lead your emotions, lead your environment, lead your habits, and lead your future by designing it intentionally. Because if you can lead yourself for 90 days, truly lead, you will never again doubt your ability to shape the direction of your life. Now that leadership has taken root, we move to the next great transformation, the shift of identity, becoming the person who naturally attracts success. My friends, by the time you reach this part of the winter arc, something far more important than new habits or new skills begins to happen. You start to experience what I call the identity shift, a change not in what you do, but in who you believe yourself to be. And let me tell you, identity is the great lever of human behavior, because you will never consistently act in a way that contradicts your identity. If you see yourself as undisciplined, you will sabotage discipline. If you see yourself as unlucky, you will overlook opportunity. If you see yourself as average, you will refuse excellence. Life moves in the direction of your strongest beliefs about yourself. So in this phase, we begin the most transformative work of all, becoming the person who deserves the results you seek. Not hoping, not wishing, not pretending, becoming. Because if you want a bigger life, you need to grow into a bigger version of yourself. The income you want, the influence you want, the respect you want, the opportunities you want, all of these things are looking for a home. And that home is built from identity. Here's the heart of the matter. Identity creates behavior, behavior creates habits, habits create destiny. So if destiny is to change, identity must change first. And identity changes through repetition, not repetition of tasks, but repetition of character. Every time you honor a commitment to yourself, you strengthen identity. Every time you follow through, you reinforce identity. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you cast a vote for the future leader you are becoming. That is how identity is built, one vote at a time. In this phase, I want you to adopt a simple practice. Daily identity statements. Speak them, write them, rehearse them, repeat them until they become familiar to your mind and natural to your behavior. Statements like, I am a disciplined person. I keep promises to myself. I am becoming a person of value. I live by standards, not by feelings. I build my future deliberately. Don't underestimate the power of these statements, my friends. Your mind listens to you, and when your words align with your actions, identity becomes unshakable. You stop hoping for discipline and start expecting it. You stop trying to be consistent and start seeing consistency as something you simply do. The greatest freedom is to become the kind of person who trusts themselves, the kind of person who knows they will do what needs to be done. Let me give you another insight. Big breakthroughs are built from small wins, quiet, private victories that no one sees. When you wake up on time, when you finish the workout, when you avoid the distraction, when you read the 10 pages, when you track your progress, when you reflect at night, these are not small actions. These are identity-altering decisions. And the accumulation of these decisions creates an internal shift that becomes almost unstoppable. The person you become is always more important than the goals you achieve. Why? Because goals can be taken from you, but character cannot. Goals can be delayed, but identity continues to grow. Goals can be met and forgotten, but identity stays with you for life. Once you build the identity of a disciplined, responsible, capable human being, the results can't help but follow. The fruits always follow the roots. And that brings us to one of my favorite principles. Self-respect is earned by keeping promises to yourself. Not promises you make to others, promises you make to you. And these 90 days are designed to rebuild that self-respect. Because when you trust yourself, you gain courage. When you trust yourself, you gain stability. When you trust yourself, You become a leader others can trust. But it always starts with you keeping your word to yourself. So allow this phase to reshape how you see yourself. Let go of old labels, old stories, old limitations. You are not who you were. You are the sum of your disciplines, the product of your choices, the architect of your habits, and the designer of your future. And as this identity strengthens, you will discover something extraordinary. Success becomes less of a struggle and more of a natural consequence, because you have become the kind of person success looks for. Now, with identity shifting and character strengthening, we move to the heart of the winter arc, the daily routines that reinforce the new you and make discipline your default operating system. My friends, now that identity has begun its shift, now that you're no longer trying to become disciplined but living as someone who is disciplined, it's time to anchor that identity with structure, because success in any field of life is built on routines. Not dramatic effort, not bursts of inspiration, not occasional motivation routines, the small disciplines repeated every day, the patterns that shape your days and eventually shape your destiny. And the winter arc has 3 essential routines: morning, midday, and evening. Think of these as the pillars that hold up your new identity. Without them, your progress will wobble. With them, you will create a rhythm so strong it can carry you through any season of life. So let's begin with the first and most important. 7.1, the morning routine. Win the first hour, win the day. If I could teach you only one idea for the rest of your life, it would be this: don't start your day until you've finished it on paper. A leader does not wake up and wait for the world to assign them a direction. A leader sets the direction before the world wakes up. So every morning during this winter arc, I want you to follow a simple, powerful sequence. First, wake up with intention. Not by accident, not by snooze button, but with the quiet authority of someone who has chosen to lead themselves. Getting up on time isn't just about the clock, it's about the promise. When you keep the first promise of the day, you set the tone for every other promise. Second, move your body. A short walk, a stretch, a light routine. Nothing complicated. Just enough movement to remind your body that you're alive, you're capable, and you're in command. Third, read or listen to something valuable. 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes of something that elevates your thinking. Because the mind fed with wisdom in the morning rarely feeds on nonsense throughout the day. Fourth, review your goals and plan your day. Write your tasks. Prioritize them. Ask yourself, what must be done today to honor the person I'm becoming? Leaders don't rely on memory, they rely on paper. Win the morning, and the rest of the day will follow. 7.2, the midday routine, the value hour. Now let's talk about the midday routine, the heart of your productivity and the engine of your future. In phase 2, you chose a high-value skill. In this routine, you practice it every single day. 1 hour, focused, deliberate, uninterrupted. This is the hour that pays you back tenfold. The hour that separates the dreamers from the doers. During this hour, no notifications, no multitasking, no wandering. Just practice, improvement, and mastery. Let me tell you something profound. 1 hour of focused development each day is 365 hours a year. That's 9 full 40-hour work weeks spent becoming more valuable than you were before. What will your life look like when you're 9 weeks more skilled than everyone else around you? The world cannot ignore someone who invests like that. Use this hour to become a better communicator, a better thinker, a better creator, a better leader. This hour builds your confidence. It builds your market value. It builds your future. And remember, value attracts opportunity. 7.3, the evening routine. Reflection is the teacher of leaders. Now we come to the evening routine, the anchor of the entire day. You see, the end of the day is your opportunity to collect the lessons, the wins, and the insights. Without reflection, you repeat mistakes. With reflection, you evolve. Every evening, take 10 or 15 minutes to look back at the day and ask yourself, what did I accomplish? Where did I fall short? What needs improvement? What am I proud of? What must I do tomorrow? Leaders don't just live the day, they learn from the day. And after reflection, read again. Even if it's just a few pages, Let good ideas settle into your mind before sleep. You'll find that problems shrink and clarity expands when wisdom is the last thing you consume at night. 7.4 daily questions. A leader lives by reflection. To guide your days, ask yourself 4 simple questions every morning if you choose. Every evening for sure. What did I learn today? How did I increase my value? What discipline did I practice? What will tomorrow look like? These questions turn your life into a classroom and you into a lifelong student of personal development. My friends, these routines are not just tasks. They are anchors, rituals, and identity-shaping behaviors. They keep you steady when the world is chaotic. They keep you focused when distraction calls your name. They turn your 90-day arc into a predictable pathway for success. But even with these routines, you will face resistance. You will encounter challenges. You will meet the great enemies of discipline. And that's why our next section is vital, understanding what stands in your way and how to remove it. My friends, now that we've built structure into your days, there is something we must confront with absolute honesty. Because no matter how strong your routines are, no matter how clear your goals are, no matter how noble your intentions are, there will always be forces working quietly to pull you away from your path. I call them the 7 enemies of a winter arc, and if you don't recognize them, they will sabotage your progress without you even noticing. These enemies don't knock on the front door, they slip in through the cracks. And the first step to defeating them is to shine a light on them. Let's begin. Enemy Hashon. Excuses. The language of the undisciplined. Excuses are invisible thieves. They steal your potential 1 sentence at a time. I'm tired. I'll do it tomorrow. Today is too busy. I'm not ready. Let me tell you something. Your life will always obey the story you tell yourself. If you speak excuses, your life becomes smaller. If you speak responsibility, your life expands. The antidote to excuses is simple. Tell the truth. Not the comfortable truth, the real truth. And the truth is this: if it matters, you'll make time. If it doesn't, you'll make excuses. Enemy #2, inconsistency, the silent destroyer of momentum. Inconsistency breaks more dreams than failure ever will. You see, failure teaches, but inconsistency erases. You can't build identity by showing up once a week. You build identity by showing up every day, even imperfectly. Most people stop when motivation fades. Leaders continue because discipline has taken over. And remember, consistency is not about perfection. It's about showing up again and again and again. When you miss, don't disappear for a week. Return the next hour. Leadership is quick recovery. Enemy #3, isolation without accountability. Now, I believe in solitude. I believe in reflection, but I do not believe in isolation. Isolation makes you comfortable. Accountability makes you responsible. Every champion in sports, business, or life has someone who raises their standards, someone who expects more, someone who will say, "You said you would. Why didn't you?" Find someone who pulls you forward, not someone who keeps you company in stagnation. Because even the strongest leaders need accountability. Enemy, #4, distractions and digital poison. In our world today, distraction is not an accident, it's an industry. If you don't protect your focus, someone will take it from you. Hours disappear into scrolling, tapping, browsing, checking. And when people say, "I don't have time," what they really mean is, I've given my time to things that don't matter. During this winter arc, I want you to treat attention like currency. Don't spend it cheaply. Don't give it away carelessly. Don't allow your future to be diluted by digital noise. Turn your phone into a tool, not a trap. Enemy #5, emotional instability. Reacting instead of responding. Life will not protect your emotions, but you must protect your decisions. Weak minds react. Strong minds respond. And leadership requires response. Don't let a bad mood ruin a good day. Don't let frustration derail your discipline. Don't let a moment of emotion undo a month of progress. Build a pause into your life, a quiet breath, a short moment of reflection. The moment between stimulus and response, that is where leadership lives. Enemy #6, low standards. You will rise no higher than your minimums. Let me share a secret. High achievers aren't extraordinary. They simply refuse to live below certain standards. If your standards are low, your performance will follow. If your standards are vague, your results will be vague. But raise your standards, even slightly, and your entire world shifts upward. Ask yourself, what is the lowest level of discipline I will accept from myself? And then raise that level. Leaders live by standards, not by moods. Enemy #7, impatience, wanting the fruit before you've grown the root. This is one of the greatest enemies of personal development. People want fast results, instant changes, immediate rewards. But life doesn't work that way. You can't rush a seed. You can't force a season. You can't demand a harvest from soil you've only watered once. Impatience kills progress because it convinces you that slow progress is no progress. But slow progress is the only kind that lasts. Remember, you're not just building habits, you're building a future. And anything worth keeping takes time. My friends, these are the 7 enemies of your winter arc. Excuses, inconsistency, isolation, distractions, emotional instability, low standards, and impatience. These are the forces that will try to pull you back into the life you're working to leave behind. But once you recognize them, you can defeat them. And once you defeat them, the path becomes clear. You gain strength. You gain control. You gain momentum. And momentum is the greatest gift a season of discipline can give you. Now that we've recognized the enemies, we move to the final closing chapter, the outro, where everything comes together and the winter arc becomes not just a challenge, but a new way of living. My friends, as we come to the end of this winter arc journey, I want you to pause for a moment and truly consider what you've committed to. 90 days of honesty, 90 days of discipline, 90 days of skill building, reflection, leadership, and identity transformation. 90 days where you stopped drifting and started directing your life. That alone places you among a very small percentage of people in this world, the ones who do not wait for life to improve, but choose to improve themselves. You see, life does not respond to wishes. It responds to work. It responds to preparation. It responds to discipline. And most of all, it responds to the person you become. The last 90 days were not just a challenge. They were a training ground, a place where you confronted your excuses, a place where you upgraded your standards, a place where you learned that consistency is not a talent, it is a decision, a place where you discovered that leadership is something you practice one quiet moment at a time. And now, you stand at the doorway of a new year, not hoping for a better 2026, but earning one. Because here is the great truth. If you can lead yourself for 90 days, you can lead yourself for a lifetime. If you can wake up with intention, reflect with honesty, grow with discipline, and act with purpose, there is nothing in this world you cannot move toward. No goal too distant, no dream too large, no future too intimidating. And why? Because it is not the size of the task that determines your success, it is the size of the person attempting it. And you, my friends, are becoming larger every day. Remember the fundamental principle of all success. Work harder on yourself than you do on anything else. Jobs may come and go. Opportunities may rise and fall. But the person you become, your character, your habits, your value, your philosophy, that is the foundation on which every good thing in your life will be built. So as you step out of this winter arc and into 2026, carry with you the identity of someone who does not wait for the world to change, but changes themselves. Someone who does not chase success, but attracts it. Someone who does not crumble under difficulty, but rises above it with clarity and strength. Let me leave you with one final thought, and if you remember nothing else, remember this. When you lead yourself first, success will always follow. It may not come immediately. It may not come loudly. But it will come inevitably because success respects discipline. Success respects consistency. Success respects character. Success respects preparation. And success always finds the person who has prepared a place for it. So step into your new year with confidence. Step into it with purpose. Step into it with discipline. Step into it as the leader of your own life. And when you look back at 2026 months from now, you will not say, I was lucky. You will say, I was prepared. My friends, that is the true power of this winter arc. Not the 90 days themselves, but the person you become because of them. And that person can build a future they'll be proud of.